Namaste and welcome to another edition of the Bharatvaarta Weekly. I'm Roshan Cariappa. We have with us Abhishek Paul and Nirav Kanodra to run you through the news and events of the week that was. In a recent exclusive interview with Breaking Point, founder and ex-CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, made sensational claims about Twitter's treatment in India. He claimed that the Indian government had threatened to shut down Twitter if it didn't take action against, to quote, certain journalists and accounts that were critical of the government. He made these claims while talking about Twitter's crusade for free speech and how it was impacted by takedown requests by different countries. However, Jack very conveniently left out the part where the company primarily catered to takedown and shadow ban requests from the radical left wing in the US, which perhaps, he kind of agrees with, right? Well, we've often brought up this point, many different times on the podcast that, Twitter tends to think of itself as some kind of a supranational entity, right? That they're above the law, that they're a sovereign in itself. But it's high time that that thinking changes, right? And I think it is changing, right? Because one of the first things that Elon mentioned as he took over Twitter was also that, hey, we will comply with laws and regulations in whatever countries, right? And you've seen that with Turkey, for example, right? He's working with the government there on taking down certain accounts and certain kind of information and so on. Now, these allegations that Jack made have been properly refuted by Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the minister, right? He calls them outright lies. And he's basically said that between 20 and 22, there were bunch of violations that Twitter made, whether it is in violation of Article 14 or Article 19 on right to equality and basically free speech. But Twitter was allowed to function, right? And only in June of 2022 is when they started complying with some of these things, right? The argument against India, what I have read some places, is that we have the most number of claims that we have filed, right, in terms of takedown requests and whatnot. But again, this is a classic sort of a mistake in going with the total numbers and not taking percentages. Despite all of this, I think this routine of Jack to surface once in a while and appear like this boy genius, slash hippie who cares about the world and who's sort of a champion of the global liberal order, and he righteously tried to protect freedoms and whatnot, right? Despite all of this, it doesn't hold water, because you saw what Twitter has done, or even the other platforms, whether it's Meta or Google or whatever, have done multiple times in the US, right, or Europe as well. We all have clips of the congressional hearings and whatnot, right, where these guys have complied, and Twitter itself has no standing in this, right? We've seen Twitter files, for instance, where they suppressed news about the Hunter Biden laptop and whatnot. So, yeah, I think it's a bit rich for Jack to talk about these things. And I think it was handled very well by the minister, Rajiv Chandrasekhar. All right, in some local politics, high drama unfolded in Tamil Nadu this week as the state's cabinet minister, Senthil Balaji, was arrested in a money laundering probe by the Enforcement Directorate. Soon after his arrest, the minister was admitted to Omandarur Hospital as he complained of chest pain and being ill-treated by the Enforcement Directorate, and he also underwent a coronary angiogram. On Friday, a Chennai Session Court denied Senthil Balaji's bail plea and granted the ED an 8-day custody. Abhishek, can you tell us what's happening here?
So the minister in question, Senthil Balaji, used to be a minister in the AIADMK government in the past, and whatever allegations the ED has right now of this so-called, I would say it's called like a cash for jobs kind of scam. It relates to the period in which he was in AIADMK as the transport minister. The current CM of Tamil Nadu, MK Stalin, also had alleged corruption allegations against him when he was in the opposition in 2016, right? But in 2018, he switched parties and he won he won as an MLA in 2019 and became a minister in the current DMK government. So that's the background. So basically, I think more than the particular details of the case, and of course there is local politics ongoing in Tamil Nadu with the BJP pushing very hard various allegations of corruption, including through the DMK files and all that, right? With which Anna Malai has been leading the charge on social media. But beyond that, I think why this has kind of become a bigger national issue is this has become, and this has kind of united a lot of opposition parties, is now that there is a perception building that the BJP government at the center has been using, various investigative bodies like the CBI, etc., of targeting opposition politicians in various states in which the opposition parties are ruling. And so this is where this kind of gave an opportunity to, all opposition parties, whether it is the Congress, the AAP, or even parties from Jammu and Kashmir who have basically no interest in Tamil Nadu politics, to chime in and sort of further the narrative that the BJP is kind of unfairly using these investigative bodies to target opposition politicians. So for now, he will be, you know, under the custody of ED till I think the 28th of June. We'll have to see, how the investigation plays out. One other thing that has happened is that the DMK government would like to take away the portfolio of ministries that he was holding, but keep him as a minister, like a minister without portfolio, while the governor has sort of chimed in that you cannot be a minister without portfolio and he needs to resign. So that's another sort of debating point right now in currently in this case.
Right. Yeah, I think Tamil Nadu politics seems to have suddenly become very exciting and seems to have really shook up after Annamalai's entry into politics. Right. So perhaps we should do an episode on Tamil Nadu politics, maybe with Prasanna of Swarajya. We have thought about it earlier, but let us know if who else we should host on Tamil Nadu politics specifically. All right, moving on. Over the past couple of days, Cyclone Biparjoy has wreaked havoc on the state of Gujarat. Several electricity grids and highways have been rendered useless due to strong winds and heavy rainfall. Trees have been uprooted and houses damaged. A few lives have been lost and thousands injured. Lakhs of people have been relocated to temporary homes away from the coastal regions. The NDRF and the state's relief unit have deployed hundreds of teams to assist in restoring movement and electricity as soon as possible. Nirav, I know you have some family in Gujarat. I hope they're all safe. Is this under control now? What's happening?
So no, absolutely. As in, see, India has learnt a lot from the previous cyclones. Cyclones are more predominant on the Indian east coast, Odisha being frequently hit with cyclones. But I think the institutional knowledge, one is the IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, did a very good job on forecasting the timing, and we took a lot of preemptive action. I think 65,000 to 1 lakh people were moved away from the coastal areas, especially in regions of Kutch and like Saurashtra. Right now, I think only two lives have been lost, maybe a few thousand injured. There were some people probably who didn't obey, or like it's really unfortunate. Two is also too many, but in previous years in such cyclones, you would have seen a lot more devastation. So it's good coordination between you would say local governments, so like the gram panchayats plus the city municipal corporations plus the state government plus the central government. We had a lot of learning from such things in Odisha and Andhra, coastal Andhra, and so here in Gujarat we've been preemptive, and now like one of the things which is a lot of trees have been uprooted in the Gir forest sanctuary where we have a few lions in the wild. So I think there is some sort of like wildlife and rehabilitation work going on there as well to ensure that there's not a lot of loss of wildlife as well. So I think that is there. This just goes to show the gradual rise in institutional capabilities, as in these events keep happening. The thing is, can we be prepared? Can our society and the country be prepared for such things? And how can we manage the damage? I think Gujarat has come a long way since there was an earthquake in Kutch in the year 2001, and that was very devastating, right? And so since then, institutional capability, not just in the state but also in the country, has increased, and it's a positive sign. So I think now it's gone past Gujarat and Kutch, and now it's hitting Pakistan. They had a very bad flood in the Sindh region as well last year. So I don't know about them. Hopefully, any country, like hopefully the loss of life and loss of property, etc., is a bare minimum. But it tells you that we can't control the nature, but can we be better prepared? Can we be better coordinated? And that's how we need to learn to live with these things. So yeah, that's a very heartening sign.
Well, from a crisis in the west, we move on to a crisis in the east. Ethnic unrest continues in Manipur with 9 people killed and 25 others injured in fresh violence in the region. The militants, armed with automatic weapons, opened fire on sleeping people and also hurled bombs in Kamenlok village at the border of Imphal. A press conference was held by representatives of the Meitei community who demanded the center's intervention in restoring peace in the state. This crisis seems to be worsening, and people have been criticizing the home minister of inaction. But what is the government doing to kind of arrest this?
Yeah, I mean, the situation continues to remain very bad in Manipur. And the trip of the Home Minister there, I think, couple of weeks back hasn't really brought down the level of violence significantly. I mean, we continue to see these kind of killings still ongoing. One of the initiatives that was taken post that trip was forming a peace committee, right, which would involve members of civil society, government, etc., and people from both sides of the conflict. But unfortunately, the Kuki members in that committee refused to join because they said that, there are members of the government or there are members of the opposite side with whom they cannot, sit on the table. Then there were others who said that, they had been added to the peace committee without their consent itself. So that initiative has kind of totally stalled. And then, of course, we continue to see violence. And, there have been attacks, not only the ones that you mentioned, but even politicians are now, and their houses are now being targeted. The house of various MLAs, or even I think the Minister of State for External Affairs, Rajkumar Ranjan Singh, his residence was set on fire yesterday. So I think, yeah, it's pretty bad. And the only hope people seem to, or any sort of confidence people seem to have is in the armed forces, right? That they are probably the only people with who can sort of try to bring down or stop this violence. But politically, the situation seems very grim.
Yeah, let's hope the situation is resolved at the earliest. Thoughts and prayers with everyone who's been affected.